Right off the bat, the internet seemed very perplexed about how does an accidental drowning occur. I immediately thought of Matthew Perry and Whitney Houston. They had the same cause of death, so we know where that came from.
Not Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Not Malcolm. Not Theo. Theodore Huxtable? Oh, that family. Oh, Jesus. Y'all, that funeral gonna be rough. That's gonna be a rough funeral. We gonna hear from Felicia Rashad as she says bye to her son. We gonna hear from his family. We gonna hear from Eddie, from Malcolm and Eddie. Jesus, not Malcolm. Lord.
Something's not adding up about Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death. And if you think this was just a tragic accident on a beach in Costa Rica, you haven't been paying attention. The timeline is messy, the official statements keep changing, and the deeper you look, the more it reeks of a cover-up. Hollywood never liked Malcolm because he stayed clean. No scandals, no handlers, no puppet strings. And when Eddie Griffin warned him, "They're going to come for you," he wasn't joking. Now Malcolm's dead, and nobody's asking the questions that matter. Until now. Malcolm's death wasn't just a loss, it was a shockwave. The kind that hits too hard and too fast, leaving behind more questions than answers. First, there was the story we were all fed. Malcolm, on vacation with his 8-year-old daughter, died heroically trying to save her from a deadly rip current. The media ran with it. It tugged at heartstrings, trended on socials, and everyone mourned. But just 48 hours later, the story changed. And not just a little. Suddenly, his daughter wasn't even in the water. She was safe on the beach, and Malcolm drowned alone. So why did they lie? Why tell the world he died saving his daughter, only to erase that version days later? That's not just a correction. It's a narrative rewrite. Then you realize it's not just the narrative that's shady. It's the whole setup. Malcolm took his child to Flyocalls, a beach infamous for deadly rip currents, no lifeguards, and literal warning signs plastered everywhere. And he did it without his wife? Alone, with an 8-year-old, on a beach known for pulling people under. Even Olympic swimmers? That's not just uncharacteristic. It's suspicious. Especially for a man who openly adored his family, prayed for his daughter before she was born, and often said she softened him into fatherhood. This was a father obsessed with protection, and here's where it gets darker. The inconsistencies pile up. First, we're told a single man tried to save Malcolm. Then, suddenly, there are multiple rescuers. Oh, wait. Now we're told 3 random tourists who were also doctors just happened to be there. They saved the other guy, but somehow couldn't save Malcolm. And while the Red Cross gave him treatment, they still couldn't revive him, even though he wasn't alone in the water. Convenient. Too convenient. But why Malcolm? Why now? Well, Eddie Griffin said it best. They don't like clean. Malcolm wasn't just a clean actor, he was a clean black actor. In Hollywood, that's a problem. He didn't play the game. He didn't sell himself to the machine. He turned down degrading roles, stayed away from scandals, and stayed vocal about how black actors are manipulated, caricatured, and sold back to their own communities as toxic stereotypes. That's not conspiracy, that's reality. And Malcolm had receipts. He called them out in writing, too. In a 2021 op-ed for the Television Academy, Malcolm didn't mince words. He said white executives and producers are the gatekeepers of black images. And even when black creatives are given the illusion of control, the same old harmful tropes get recycled, just dressed up in suits and high-paying jobs. He knew how they kept control. He wasn't afraid to say it, but he didn't stop there. Malcolm started his own podcast, Not All Hood, to fight back against the stereotype machine. His message was clear. The black community is not a monolith. We're not all gangsters, we're not all rappers, we're not all hood. He wanted nuance, he wanted truth. And when the Kendrick versus Drake beef exploded and the media predictably milked it, Malcolm was one of the few voices saying, This is a distraction. He didn't fall for the bait. He stayed focused on healing, growth, and representation. And that's exactly what made him dangerous. Because Malcolm wasn't just speaking out, he was reaching people. Quietly reconnecting with folks like Dave Chappelle and Mos Def, men who also walked away from the Hollywood system, who knew too much and said too little. Eddie Griffin saw it happening, and he pulled Malcolm aside to warn him, "You're too clean. They'll come for you." And they did. Now he's gone, and what we're left with is a spiraling story full of holes. This isn't just about a man dying in the ocean. It's about what he represented. A black father who broke generational trauma. A husband with a 10-year relationship and no public fights. An actor who didn't self-destruct or fall for industry traps. He was a threat, not because he was loud, but because he stayed intact, because he didn't sell out. Even the way the media's handling his death feels strategic. The initial surge of sympathy was real, but the walk back was eerie. The silence that followed even more so. No press conferences, no full autopsy report, no public investigation updates, just quick edits, shifting details, and vanishing facts. And remember, Costa Rica's own investigators had to issue a statement correcting U.S. media reports. That's not normal. And here's what fans keep asking. If this was a known death trap, and signs were posted everywhere, where were the lifeguards? Where was the emergency response? Why didn't his wife go with them to the beach? How did 3 doctors show up out of nowhere but couldn't save a healthy 50-something man? Why did the story change twice? Some insiders are now whispering that Malcolm was on the brink of revealing something even deeper. Allegedly, he was investigating a larger web involving media control and elite influence over public thought. The kind of thing that turns accidents into silences and turns truth-tellers into tragedies. One of his last posts even said, "It's just entertainment. You're looking into it too deeply." That sounds like sarcasm. Like someone calling out how dismissive people are when reality starts to look like a movie script. And when Eddie Griffin posted that emotional tribute, he didn't just say goodbye to a friend. He called Malcolm a warrior who fought the Hollywoods as a sad accident. Maybe they'll believe the daughter was never in the water, that Malcolm just misjudged the tides, and 3 doctors just happened to fail at their one job. But the people paying attention, the ones who remember what Eddie warned, know better. Because in Hollywood, no one leaves clean. And Malcolm, he left too clean.